My name is Augusto Toia. I'm a traveling winemaker from Argentina. I'm working here at the I Ciacca Winery in Lazio, Italy. A traveling winemaker is a person that follows his passion and gets to travel around the world making wine and doing your passion. And it allows those persons to engage in very cultural exchange and meeting people from all over the world. This was my 11th vintage, and in the beginning my first vintage was in Argentina, and then I started to travel to the United States, then to New Zealand, then to Rome.
At I Ciacca, the Traveling Winemaker program is really important. It helps us with that international perspective. Obviously, being Scottish and Italian, we have this international outlook always. So learning from others, from other cultures, from people that have learned in other institutions is really important, and we hope then teaching them the ways that we've learned here in Italy as well. We've had great success over the last couple of years, and it's something that we really look forward to continuing.
My first harvest was in Argentina in 2017, and this is my last harvest now in 2025 in I Ciacca, and it's my 11th vintage. I started harvest hopping, I think it's called, when you do the harvest in the south hemisphere when it's summer, autumn, summer, and then when you do the harvest in the south hemisphere. So in 2017, 2018, and 2019 I did 6 harvests in 3 years. So my family comes from Italy. My ancestors are from North Italy, Piedmont in English, and then we live in a town called General Cabrera, Córdoba. I went to study in Mendoza, so I think it was a very pretty decision for me because I discovered so many cultures and so many interesting things about the wine culture in general, and it allowed me to travel around the world and make wine and make new friends all over. Well, the wine that I worked last, Australian, the one that I worked the most was Italian varieties. So I think I'm pretty good with Nebbiolo, I'm pretty good with Barbera, Arnese, Vermentino. So I was good. That was a pretty experience in Australia making Italian varieties. And this is my apartment. An amazing spot I got to live here. An amazing spot. I felt like in a 5-star hotel. I felt very, very comfortable here, and the view that we got out here is fantastic. Where I drink my Argentinian mate almost every day. This is my bedroom. That's my girlfriend. So always the day starts with an espresso in my beautiful industrial kitchen. Beautiful kitchen too. What's this? So this is the drone that is fantastic because it's the kind of the new vineyard technology that is being implemented in different wineries around the world, but it's a pretty new system that we use to spray the vineyard with copper and sulfur to protect the vine against diseases. And there's another part of this equipment, which is a smaller drone with a camera that takes pictures of lots of pictures from all the vineyard, and then you can read by images the results of how much leaves you having, how much sugar you have in the grapes, and also it can help you to prevent diseases. Trusting the grapes means first that the winery owners have that philosophy of a natural wine, of respecting the land and letting the land express. And trusting the grapes also for me means just let the grapes do its thing, do its magic, because everything is there. you have the yeast there, you have the nutrients there. So you just, of course, it's very low intervention, but we do some winemaking techniques to clean the juice before the fermentation, so you have a cleaner fermentation and you get better aromatics. Then during the fermentation, what we just do is follow it, seeing that every day the fermentation is going, that we have the sugar is reducing, that the temperature is keeping at 16, 17 degrees. Something for me very interesting here at I Ciacca was that last year they did a soil study in the whole vineyard, and they discovered that in different parts of the vineyard they have different soil. It is similar, but one has more calcium, another part has more clay. So they divided the vineyard in six different blocks, and after that we did the fermentation separately from each of the blocks. So we end up with six different wines. The process that they do here, by being a natural low intervention, is that you have to do a pied de coupe before the main harvest, which means a pied de coupe is picking up approximately between 5-10% of the whole lot, and then you just crush those grapes, keep it with the skins, so the fermentation starts going in there. You try to keep that fermentation at 18 degrees. Usually you pick this pied de coupe before, like 5 or 6 days before the main harvest. Why we do this? Because the pied de coupe works as the inoculation, as the inoculate, meaning that we have the active yeast on that pied de coupe. Once we get the rest of the grapes, we press them, we get the juice, and then we add this pied de coupe into this new juice, so that will kick off the fermentation. So this way you avoid using selected yeast that you can get in the stores, and also you can see that in different blocks we end up having different results. For example, if we have more calcium on the soil, we would end up with more minerality. When we have a bit more clay in the soil, means that you have a bit more nutrients in the soil as well, nitrogen, and that gave us a result with slightly more sugar and slightly more flour and more aromatics, I can say. When I arrived in the beginning, everything was green. The vineyard was green. We still have all the grapes on the vineyard, and now we have already a couple of 2 or maybe 3 frosts. So you can see the vineyard is already dormant, no more leaves. So you can see clearly here how the season moves on from summer to autumn.
Sono Sofia di Ciaccatana e noi siamo I Ciacca. I first started learning about traveling winemakers when I was doing some stages with our winemaker at the time in Tuscany in his vineyard. There were people from Australia, from Argentina, Brazil, and it was fascinating getting to know all those different cultures and this new world of the traveling winemaker. So I thought, why not bring it to I Ciacca?
The traveling winemaker program is really integral to the process of learning what we're doing here in I Ciacca. The reality is that we always say it's a winery, it's a house, it's a borgo, it's a vineyard, it's an area to make olive oil and honey, but the reality is that you find that it's more like a university to research this grape, this terroir, this height and this location. So geographically, we could argue that not many people get to work in an environment where you are so high and yet so far out. So having traveling winemakers out of Italy coming in that come from areas like Augusto, from Argentina, and in the past from the States, allows them to work with a completely different terroir and learn themselves and teach us what they've learned in whether it's a conventional style winery or whether it's a philosophy on minimal intervention or whether they do their own fermentations with their own yeast. They can adapt, and we can learn also. So it's quite important to argue the point that it's not so much we need the help for 3 months, the travelling winemaker program. It's actually more about bringing someone in and learning from them, and it will be completely different every year for 3 months. And the beauty is that these people travel from the southern hemisphere up to the northern hemisphere, so they're fresh on the scene of a harvest. So everything, whether it's technical or scientific or laborious in terms of being in the cantina, handling tubes, pipes, pumps, the reality is much fresher in their head because they did it 6 months ago when they start the next harvest here. Whereas we, the team, haven't done it for a year, haven't practiced any of that other than general maintenance, general analysis, general vineyard keeping. But the harvest time is so preciously important. I always say that it is probably the one remaining industry where you get one shot at it to get it right. And you don't necessarily have 9 months to get it right either. Sometimes you can miss by a day or two, whether it's treatments, analysis, the picking date. Also, it's quite interesting to see the travelling winemakers who work with very, very large wineries come to such a boutique winery. I mean, we are 30,000 bottle production of white, 25,000 production of red. Some of these people that show up and involve themselves in the programme, which we're really proud of, work with millions of bottles of production. So sometimes they find easier ways of doing our most tedious tasks, and sometimes we impose the most tedious tasks that they never heard of before, which I quite like that. That's how we all learn here at I Ciacca. And my famous phrase, if there is a long, tedious, laborious, onerous way of doing something, that's probably our path. I think after 3 months now with Augusto, I think Augusto would agree that we really do have to trust the grape, and we have to trust our terroir and see where that goes. In the end, it's a fantastic result, and I actually think that impresses quite a lot of the travelling winemaker community, because whether they're working in heavily intervened wines or not is actually irrelevant. It's just the fact that we are quite willing to put the grape first.
Veramente una bravissima persona, ha portato un sacco di esperienza alla cantina, un mix di lavoro e simpatia e divertimento, quindi è servito veramente a tanto. Spero di rivederlo qua in Italia presto e niente, lo saluto, un fantastico saluto.
We've had a great time working with Augusto. We were so excited to meet him. We did a lot of video calls with him over the few months before he arrived. We were excited to get that Argentinian perspective because it's such an important part of the winemaking world. Coming here, he's been easygoing, happy, joins in with everybody, and most importantly, very knowledgeable, really gets stuck in. I hope that he's learned a lot here, and especially from the natural winemaking point of view, which I think was maybe something a little bit newer for him.